hot stove. Hot stove. Hot stove. This is the hot stove video. Alright. Greetings, YouTube world. This is Dr. Griffin back with a hot stove video. Yeah. Today's topic is about Francisco Lindor. Lindor is currently the all-star shortstop for the Cleveland Indians. And the Indians, being the cheapskate franchise that they are, have made it clear that they're going to trade him before the beginning of next season. Lindor is set to be a free agent after the 2021 season, and it's pretty damn clear that the Indians are not going to re-sign him, so they're going to try to get some value for him before he goes to free agent land. This video is going to be discussing some of the destinations that he could land at, and which one I think he's going to make it to. A caveat, if you will. I believe that the team that's going to acquire Francisco Lindor is not going to be one that wants to take a rental on him for the season, i.e. just grab him for one season without the intention of re-signing him long term. Lindor is a really young player in the prime of his career, and I think whoever wants him is going to need to be able to shell out the money to keep him long term. Because he's probably going to be looking at a $200 to $300 million deal. First up on the list is the New York Mets. With new owner Steve Cohen in place and loads of money to spend, he is a prime candidate to go after and try to bring in a new star. He's already going to be hot and heavy with pretty much every free agent on the record this season. And he's going to snag somebody, it's just a matter of who. And maybe if he strikes out on somebody like Bauer or Springer, he might decide to go trade and bring in Lindor and lock him up as basically their franchise player. They have Andrés Giménez and Ahmed Rosario, who are solid infield pieces that could be moved in a deal. And now with Robinson Cano failing another drug test and his $20+ million coming off the books for them this season, they're going to make a move, and this could be it. Next up is that other more successful, more famous, and better team in New York, the Yankees. They have been without a championship for well over a decade now, and that to them is like 100 years. They have Gleyber Torres currently as their shortstop, but he hasn't been particularly great lately. And if they lose DJ LeMahieu in the offseason to another team, they could slide Torres over and bring in Lindor. Or they could just also trade Torres and maybe an outfielder or two, probably like a Clint Frazier, and they could maybe make that deal happen with the Indians. And you know, when it comes to the Yankees, you never have to worry about them spending money, because they'll do that hand over fist. When I was doing research for this, and yes, I actually do some research for this, because, science, I saw that the San Diego Padres were on many people's list as to a trade target for Francisco Lindor, and I kept scratching my little head because why do they need another shortstop? They have Manny Machado and Tatis Jr. And Tatis is like their franchise player. They're going to keep him. Why do they need Lindor? Are they just going to slide him over to second base? I don't know. Doesn't make any sense. Speaking of things that don't make a lot of sense, let's talk about the Philadelphia Phillies. Philadelphia is one of those teams that is itching to make a move for somebody. And they have JT Realmuto, who's currently a free agent. And if they lose him, they may decide to try to get another bat to replace him. And Lindor could be the guy. Although, honestly, they might be a bit gun shy about making the move because they traded a lot of assets to get uh, Real Muto, and they may not want to go down that road again. But Bryce Harper, being a little weenie that he needs another bat around him, so they might make a move for Lindor. They certainly have the opening at shortstop now that Didi Gregorius is a free agent who may or may not come back. The Toronto Blue Jays are up next. They have a really young team and made it into the playoffs as an 8 seed this year. And if they get a guy like Lindor, it can really help that young team have a core to build around. And they have a few pieces in their farm system they could maybe swing a trade with. Overall, they have some money to spend as well. And they have a need for a core franchise player, and that could be Lindor. And finally, as my dark horse pick, I have the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Mike Trout is here wasting the best years of his career, and one of these days they need to make the playoffs. While pitching is the team's biggest issue, they do have an opening at shortstop now that Antrell Simmons is no longer with the team. They could decide to fill that gap with bringing in Lindor and locking him up to a long-term deal by trading away Joe Odell and a couple other prospects. You have a top three of Trout, Lindor, and Rendon, and boy, that's a pretty tough threesome there to strike fear into the hearts of lineups. And they could still also sign a free agent pitcher or two to try to shore up that rotation. They're certainly going to be in the running for Bauer. So, where do you think he's going to go, Dr. Griffin? Well, I think Lindor is going to land in New York. But which of the two teams in New York? I think the Mets are most likely going to be the team that gets him because they have new ownership now and they need to make a splash. And he wants to get that team winning a championship in the next 3 to 5 years. Lindor gives them the ability to do that, and they can move one of their young infielders to help facilitate the deal. They also have the ability to give him a long-term deal. And while the Yankees can do that as well, I think they're more tapped out on their contract situation because they still have to give Aaron Judge a long-term deal too. And I think they're less likely to move Torres than people think. Now, all this can change on a dime, especially if DJ LeMahieu doesn't resign. But I think the odds-on favorite is the Mets. Well, if you agree with my opinion or think I'm a total jackass, feel free to comment in the comment section below. I look forward to hearing your opinions on these things. Anyway, I gotta get going. I gotta start working on some more videos. And I gotta watch a couple movies that I stole from my neighbor. Ta-ta! Did you like the video? Hit the like button. If you have some suggestions about some future videos or you just want to yell about how bad this video was, feel free to make some comments in the comment section. You can also subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button so that you can be notified when my new videos are coming out. Also, feel free to follow me on my various social media platforms. Ta-ta!